Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Augusto Argandoña Fine Arts. Anytime in the course of this narrated tutorial, you can click on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And I would appreciate it if you also make comments about this video or any of the other videos in my channel. If you want to learn about my virtual classes or want to see my paintings, you can do so in my website at aafinearts.com. If you should have any questions that you like some answers, also you can send me an email. My email address is aafinearts@gmail.com. This tutorial is about how to paint a street scene with watercolors. This particular image is in an area near downtown here in Sarasota, Florida, and it's a very unique location. And what caught my eye here is the shapes that all the buildings provide. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle of shapes, and also the lights, the morning light and the shadow patterns. So let's get to the fun part of this tutorial, and that is the painting part. So what I'm going to do, by the way, I'm painting on a 140-pound cold press paper. And for the most part, I will be using flat brushes. I will probably use some round brushes as well for especially the foliage and maybe some details, smaller brushes, but I'm more partial to the flat brushes. So let's start with to paint. I'm going to start by wetting the sky area with a large brush and adding quite a bit of water to the sky area. Just let it just go over here. But I'm missing the areas where the buildings are, because I want those fairly bright. So I'm just gonna add some water over here like this, like that, and make sure that pretty much cover, which it is. So there we are. And now I'm going to bring in I'm going to change brushes to a smaller flat brush, and I'm going to use some cerulean blue and ultramarine. So maybe cerulean blue and cobalt blue, that would be better. Both colors make an ideal color for the sky. So here we are, and on that wet paper, I'm going to add some of the blue for the skies here, like this, and here. And I'm going to miss, like I said, miss those buildings. And just bring leave a little bit of areas of white for some of the clouds, but primarily just the cobalt blue, especially in these corners and in this area, like that. This corner build is going to be getting a lot of sunlight, so that's what I'm going to make a contrast with the blue here. So that's what I'm doing here. But towards the distance, I'm minimizing the amount of the blue and coming down to a light value of the blue and almost white, but not quite, like that. There we are. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now, while that's drying, I'm also going to add some water to the street area. Oops, that's a little bit of blue. I should I'm going to clean that and go back with it. I don't want blue there. Clean my brush really well. And add a little bit of water to this area, not too much. I'm basically dampening the paper. Now I'm going to bring in a little bit of burnt sienna, very light, with some ultramarine blue, very light also. And this area is going to be kind of dark, but over here I'm going to leave it almost white because that is getting a lot of sunlight. But at least I'm going to start with a little bit of color there. That's like that. Now I'm going to change to a very light burnt umber. And just give a few strokes of that burnt umber like this. Like that. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, that's going to get a lot of light, so I'm not going to do much there. So in the meantime, I'm going to see if this sky area is beginning to dry. So what I will do here is start with, I'm going to leave this building pretty much white. It's getting a lot of light. The building's white to begin with. But this awning is some sort of an aquamarine color. So for that I'm going to use the color. There's a very nice color here. It's called Cobalt Turquoise. And that's what I'm going to do here. Very light. More darker on the left hand side, a little bit like that. I'm going to get some water into my brush and kind of bring that color almost to the white on the right hand side, because that's where the sun is hitting, the sunlight is on that side. And I'm going to also bring a little bit of the cobalt blue on this side, just to tone it down a little bit more, like that. Okay, so this is almost dry, so I'm going to use a little bit of that color with permanent sap green, a little bit of cobalt blue. For this sign, yeah, that's dry. So I'm going to bring that like that. Like that there. And let that dry for now. I'll go back to it later. And now I'm going to change brushes. Another flat brush. I'm going to use a little bit of yellow ochre with a little bit of burnt sienna. And in those colors over here and over here for this building, all the way down there. And now I'm also going to get some burnt umber, much deeper, with a touch of brown matter. And to this side of this building, that's across the street. So I'm going to darken that area quite a bit, because it goes, that area is in this shade. See, this side will come over here, and so that's about as far away as I'm going to do that. I'm also use a little bit more burnt umber over here. A little bit of leave a little bit of white for those palm trees that are on this little island in the middle of the street. Make sure that my head is not getting in the middle, in the way. So I'm gonna just stand there like that. I think I'm gonna go ahead and sit down and bring some of the burnt sienna and the burnt umber or the shadow side of this this roof. It's casting the shadow on the wall. There. I'm going to use a little bit more burnt umber for that area, that shadow area. There we are. There we are. Also, I'm going to add some more burnt umber to this area, make it darker, because this is in the shade. Yeah. So, make a little bit more darker here. Like that, I just add some color. I'm also going to bring in a little bit of ultramarine blue to that mixture to make this darker even. Like that. A little bit more ultramarine with that burnt umber. Let's make this even darker than that. In some areas, don't do it all this one same color. Just give it a little bit of a shading effect. There's gonna be some windows there, so I'm gonna just do that way. Leave that alone for now. Also, that roof is green, so I'm gonna use permanent sub green with ultramarine blue, because it's a darker green. And there we are. Before I go into the other portion of that roof, I'm going to do that palm tree. For that, I'm going to use a lighter green, using this permanent sub green and aureole in yellow, because these palm trees, there's a couple of palm trees over here, they're in the sunlight. Like that. Bring a little bit more of the green. A little bit of the darker greens in the bottom area on this side. Like that. Okay, so now also the other thing that I will do here, I'm not going to touch this for now. I'm going to go ahead and do these other buildings. Then I'm going to use some whiter brush and get some sepia and a little bit of cobalt blue and do this building over here. It's in the distance, so just drop in some of that color like that. Gray it down a little bit. The building is white, but I'm gonna gray it down because I want to contrast with this building over here. So that's a base color for that. Also, I'm gonna get some yellow ochre, a little bit of sepia, make a warmer green, gray for this other building. That's the shadow side of that building, and this building over here. Like that. There we are. Before that dries, I'm also going to bring in some cobalt blue the other blue that I had in my palette, because this isn't really in the shade, so I'm going to really tone it down. There we are. Now this building, all these buildings are part of the Sarasota Memorial Hospital campus. So I'm going to use a little bit of a cobalt blue. No, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to use some ultramarine blue. Very light ultramarine. Over here for this building. Create contrast with these other buildings, like that. And this portion of this other building is a parking garage, so I'm gonna do that. Create contrast with this building that's in front. Also, I'm gonna bring in a little bit of a yellow ochre, very light, and give it a little bit of that color to this building that's in the shade. There we are. So I'm leaving some of this wall, that wall, and all of this be white. These other portions of these buildings are going to be darker because they're in the shade. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to change brushes to a smaller brush and start doing some of the darker, really darker areas into some of those buildings. So this here's some darker areas here. There's some awnings over here, so I'm going to leave a little bit of that. But over here, I'm going to combine some of those colors with some deep burnt sienna and outline those cars. This is where I'm using my round brushes. I'm going to bring some sepia and a little bit of the cobalt blue and start doing some of the other little details here. All of this is in the shade. Leave some areas white. There's a car there too. Might as well do the windows of those cars too. There we are. And the tires, the rear wheel. There's another wheel over here. We'll leave that alone. This is almost dry, so this is this. So now I'm going to use this color that I have, a little bit more cobalt blue. This building has some vertical members, so I might as well go ahead and do this like that. Not too much. Just give it a few vertical strokes. Like that. There we are. And this building also has some different type of a detail. There's some type of facade here that's sticking out. There we are. A little bit more cobalt blue. There's another area like this, like that. There's a couple of things, I don't know what they are here, like this. And there's some of that sepia, and there's either a window or some type of opening here. Let's do it like that. There we are. Okay, so now I'm gonna bring some more sepia and ultramarine this time, make a darker color, and then do this detail for the parking building. There's a partition there like that. There. There we are. More of those colors, a little deeper here. There, that's it. Now this building has some, maybe with little windows like that. And I think we're going to darken some sections of this building. This shadow, it's quite building, but these walls are in the shade, so we gotta do that. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to darken the sky area in this section, so that to make that building stand out, that white. Blend that sky area like that. Okay, there we are. Same thing over here. Blend it into it. A little bit more of that blue to this building. That's about it. Okay, so this is dry now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a round brush, make a mixture of undersea green and sepia for this tree that has some of those colors, and I'm going to use the brush like this. Like that. I'm glad that I did that now, because it's kind of, it has a soft edge. Well, the paper is a little bit damp there. There we go. Leave that alone. I'm going to also do this other trees that are between the buildings over here. Bring this over here like this. And this other tree has some more warmer green. So I'm going to use some undersea green and aureolin yellow for the sunny side. A little bit more light. The sunny side of that foliage. Like this. But on the shadow side, that's going to be darker. So I'm going to use some sepia with undersea green and bring that over here. Like that. Here we are. Kind of blend it a little bit more. There. Nice tree. There's also some trees above this building, but those are going to be kind of lighter because of the distance, like that. And I kind of outlined the top of that building over there. There we are, there. Okay, so now I'm gonna do this roof with permanent subgreen. This time I'm gonna use ultramarine blue. This building is much darker, this roof. Especially this area that's in the shade. I'm gonna use a little bit darker. Make it much darker. Because this is in the shade. And it's a little bit of a detail over here on this column. There we are. A little bit more ultramarine into that green. And we work it out into the tree, the foliage of that tree. Also going to darken this portion of that roof. That's, you can see through this opening. So however, this portion of the roof is in the sunlight, so that's going to be much lighter. I'm going to bring a little bit of the cerulean blue into it. There we are. There. Okay. So now I don't want any whites in between that building, I mean that tree. So I'm going to darken this area a little bit more. Get the tree there like that. Okay. And there's some, I'm going to use some burnt sienna. There's a little brick wall for this planter. I'm going to leave the other side, the sunny side, just plain white. I'm going to darken this a little bit more. There we are. Okay, now this bush is we use on the sea green, a little bit of sepia. This is in the shade. I'm going to outline that little planter. I'm not going to leave any, I'm going to use some Payne's gray with that also. I'm not going to leave any whites because this is in the shade. There we are. That comes over here too. And a little bit on this side. There we are. A little darker, a little higher. There. All right. Now, this wall over here is a very light yellow ochre. So I might as well do that now. There's some windows or doors or something like that, but I'm gonna wait for that. I'm gonna wait for that to dry. Okay, in the meantime, I'm gonna do this building here. That roof is some burnt, no, I'm gonna use burnt sienna with a little bit of cadmium red and some orange. Just to do this tile. It's a tile roof. like that. I'm gonna do a little bit of detailing later, but now I'll change brushes again, and I'm gonna get some cobalt, some yellow ochre, clean yellow ochre, and do this shadow side of this overhang from the roof coming down here like this. Like that. Maybe a little bit more. A little more yellow ochre. Bring that down all the way to the tops of those openings. It's quite a bit of shadow area there. So now on top of that, I'm going to bring in some, clean my brush and bring some clean ultramarine blue. A little bit more water in my brush and a little bit more ultramarine. And right on top of that yellow ochre. It's not turning green because of the two colors mix really well. They give you a nice shadow area. Also, before that dries, I'm going to bring in some sepia, very light sepia, to that area. Now that shadow color, it has a nice bit of warmth too. So it's really nice. I'm going to bring a little bit of burnt umber to the same area. Like that. Give it a little bit of irregularity to the edge of that. Now I'm going to bring more ultramarine blue, clean ultramarine blue, to really tone this down. Because that shadow area is picking up reflective color from the sky too. Okay, now that's done. You use the same colors for this inside of this column. There we are. Bring a little bit of the ultramarine blue here too. There. All right. A little bit of that over here. Bring a little bit of the burnt umber. Kind of warm it up, it's picking up reflective color from the sidewalk too. So there we are, good. Okay, this roof is almost dry, I'm gonna leave that alone. However, I'm gonna start working on this building. I'm gonna bring some of the ultramarine blue that I have already in my palette and tone this down, because like I said, this is in the shade. A little bit more ultramarine. Here, like that. Okay, now I'm going to mix a little bit of brown matter with the ultramarine and tone down this overhang, the shadow. This should be dry now, so I'm going to get some of the burnt umber and do the shadow side of that area there. Warm it up a little bit. Now touch a little bit with ultramarine too. There. Okay, now let that dry. Get some sepia and start doing some of the details for the sidewalk, the curve over here. There. I'm going to do this curve too. I'm going to leave this sidewalk almost, we're basically white, because getting a lot of sunlight. And here's that curve. There, with a little bit of a shadow color. And the inside here. A little bit of here, a little bit base for those bushes. Now change brushes. Go back to the undersea green. A little bit of the Payne's gray. And these bushes are much darker. But they're getting a little bit of a sunlight too, so I'm going to start with this color. And then I'm going to change to Payne's gray, cooler on the inside and the lower portion. The lower portion over here on the inside, and there we are. That's done. All right, so now this tree is almost finished. I'm gonna get some smaller brush, pick up some sepia, and do the branches on the trunk. There we are. Not too much, that's about it. Now I'm going to get that sepia, a little bit of ultramarine, and do the details for the windows or doors in this building. There we are, just like that. There's another one over here on this side. There. I don't know what they are, but they look like that. Get some sepia, a bit smaller brush. Get some sepia and then ultramarine. Mix, make it really dark, and do this window detail from this window over here. Like that. A little bit more of the sepia to the inside of this awning. It's going to be really dark. Like that. And there's some of the horizontal item there. And there's some other items here. So I'm going to do this. There's a door over here too. This building. So I'm going to do a little bit of that detail, a little bit of this window over here. And that's about it. A little bit dry brush effect with this area. There we are. Darken this a little bit more. There we are. All right. So now add a few details over here. Give this building a little bit of more character. There's some shadows. This tree is casting some shadows on this roof. Like that. There we are. Maybe darken some of these bushes a little bit more too. And give some lines or whatever on the side. All right. Now, we get some of the green color to these awnings that are in that inside over here. Not too much there, but I'm also gonna go ahead and do the darken this building over here, that wall. Pick up some yellow ochre and warm it up a little bit. There we are. Add a little bit of that over here. Over there too. There. And get a little bit of the cerulean blue and tone this down a little bit more. Not that much. There we are. Okay. So now get a smaller brush. Get some sepia and do some of the, there's a line over here, line over here like that, with some little character type effects on the inside here. Openings on that building, the tree trunk for this tree and things like that. And there's some of the other items over here too. Just give it a little bit of a character to that area like that. There we are. Okay, now do these palm trees. There's one over here, the trunk. There's another one over here, and the third one. There. Get some raw sienna with aureole in yellow, and start doing those, those palm trees. I think these are Washingtonian palm trees. They're pretty much together, so I'm gonna paint them that way. Get a little bit of the undersea green there. Like that. Get some burnt umber, sepia, and do the dry browns that hang at the bottom of the palms. Like that. Get some Payne's gray, mixed with that green, and do the darker portion. Part that's on the shade of each of those palm trees. There we are. Okay, so now this is dry. I'm gonna mix some ultramarine and sepia and do these openings. They're pretty dark. There. There's another one over here. And the third one. There we are. Now I'm gonna get some of that sepia color, a little bit of a burnt umber, and do this, the details over here, and that roof. few indications of the tile. There we are. And there's some supports. There. All right, so that building is done. I'm gonna add a little bit of a few details over here. There's a little bit of an outline of the building, outlining this awning there, and it comes down here like this. There we are. And I'm not going to touch that wall at all. Bring this down a little bit here like this. There, that's it. All right, well now get some more of that darker color and do the supports, the brackets for this sign, like that. And do the sign itself. There's a wall there. There's a few decorative elements and a couple of other signs. Some of the letters there. And that's it. A little bit of over here. There we are. And that is done. So now we'll do the darkening portion. Before I do anything else, there's some antennas or something on top of this building. Like this couple over here. There's a pole, light pole over here. Like that. There's a few more little details over here on this building. Okay, so that's enough of that. So now I'm going to change brushes to a larger brush. Get some of this green mixed with the sepia and get duller type green because these are oak trees on this side. I'm going to connect them to those over there like that. A little bit more of those colors. And come over here and do a little bit of more of that detail there like that. Clean my brush, soften some of these areas like this. There. And now this bushes over here is really dark, so for that, I'm going to use under sea green, I'm going to use sepia and Payne's gray, very, very dark. Because I really need the contrast over here. All of this is in the shade. Make this really dark. Against the concrete there, really dark areas. There's a curve there, but I'm going to do this really dark. A little bit more Payne's gray. There we are. A little bit more details over here. There. More of the Payne's gray, because this is really dark and I want the contrast, the high contrast. There we are. Now also, I'm going to change brushes. No, I'm going to stay with the same brush. I'm going to bring a bit more of those colors. Very, very dark. On the sea green, sepia, and Payne's gray. And this tree that's hanging from the side over here, this is going to be very dark too. But I'm going to show a little bit of the daylight through the foliage. Like that. More Payne's gray. Showing, like I said, a little bit of the daylight through the foliage. Like that. And connect that to this tree over here. There we are, like that. I'll have those colors, might as well darken this a little bit more and add some details on the perimeter of these bushes. There. Okay, so now take that brush and get a flat brush and pick up some little bit of, this time I'm going to use burnt umber and cobalt blue. Make kind of a gray. I think I'm going to change that. Pick up some, yeah, this will be better. Brown matted and ultramarine blue. And make a really dark gray, cool gray. I'll do this curve, this sidewalk over here like this. That's in the shade. And with that, I'm also going to do the shadows. That this tree and these bushes are casting on the street. And I'm going to bring all those colors over here like that, opening them up a little bit. Like this. Like that. A little bit more, this time a little bit more cobalt blue. Show the openings there, like that. There we are. There. I'm going to also clean my brush and bring some of the cerulean blue into this mixture, because even these shadows are getting reflective color from the sky. So do the things like this, like that, and maybe I'll add a little bit more of the brown matter in some areas. like that. Kind of warm it up a little bit. There we are. There. Okay. Now get that the colors. Add a little bit more, another touch, another level to that curve. Get some of the burnt umber, very light, and add just a few strokes like this, like that. There we are. So now I can see that there's some, I need to have a little bit more gray color, cooler color on this building. There we are, that's much better. Same thing on this side of this building. There. Maybe a little touch of that over here. Okay, now that stands out. Good. Get some of that sepia and bring some of those little details underneath this car. Connect that to the wheel, like that. Little few of those little details there, like that. And also get some of the sepia and do some branches over here. Get my rigger brush and do those branches like this. There we are. Okay, so the painting is pretty much done. The only thing that I have left to do here is with a smaller brush. My smaller brush, where's my smaller brush? Here it is. Get some of the ultramarine, a little bit of the brown matte. And I'm going to sign it. There. The painting is done. I'm going to remove the tape. I'm going to put this on top of a darker board so you can see and appreciate the light, the shadows, and all those effects. See all those really nice touches of warm colors on the shadow. It really adds a great deal to it. So we remove this tape, and here comes the darker board. I don't want to touch too much because it might be still maybe damp. And here it is, and I'm going to minimize this a little bit. There. And there it is. This is two avenues, HILLVIEW Avenue and OSPREY Avenue in Sarasota. And it was about when I took the when I was there, it was about probably around 9:30, something like that. So all the bright sunlight, they call the contrast with the light colors and the cool areas with the shadow side of the buildings. This building pretty much in the sunlight. Same thing with the wall of this building, and all these cool colors over here, bringing all that together. So, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy my painting. And please visit my website at aafinearts.com, where you will see information about my virtual classes and a selection of my paintings and prints. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I would appreciate your comments, and please subscribe to my channel. You will see a variety of different videos, and I'm going to be posting more videos of street scenes and buildings like that. Until next time.